Melina Diaz, hola, hola. Hello, nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming, Melina. Um, where are you from, Melina? Uh, since you're new here, I think I give you a special show. This is my book. Would you like to see it, or do you want me to do comics? Up to you. So I stream every weeknight, Monday to Friday, and then sometimes Sunday night as well. I always go dancing on Saturday night, so I'm sorry I won't be here. But yeah, it's just free conversation with the people in the chat. I have a kind of a group of people that follow me and kind of my fan base, whatever. And we talk a lot about many interesting things: politics, spirituality, UFOs, art, culture, history, religion. It's a pretty interesting show. We really do stretch the boundaries of free speech in this show, so some of the topics are a little difficult for some people. Are you an artist, Melina? Let's talk about together. Have you been to this show before? Have you seen my show? I don't know. I get a lot of different people from around the world, and I get my subscription numbers are going up and up. So it's pretty cool. Good stuff. All right, so this is coming together nicely. I think I'm going to have to clean up some of the pencil lines in here, though. And then this will go to the letterer. Put the text on there. Tell the story. And then off to the colorist. So we got 4 people watching, but 1 person in the chat. Anybody want to say hi? Maybe we got some shy people. So shy. Just doing like a mix of classic rock tonight. One of my things that I often run into is like the music I play has too many commercials. So I finally just searched music without commercials. Like, it only took me 1,000 years to figure that one out. But coronavirus is back. Yes. Cool. How we doing, bro? What's shaking in your world? I actually thought I was going dancing tonight, but the DJs, I was wrong. They're playing tomorrow night, so I kind of feel sad about that. I was like, I wanted to go dancing. But anyway, now you gotta deal with me. How you like me now? Wait till they get a load of me. Anyway, yeah, just getting some of that work done. You know what I'm talking about. Drew another page today. Let's see if I can find it. Where did it go? I'll find it. Hang on. So anyway, this is just got finished with boxing and sparring, getting better. Oh, dude, Did you know I ran a martial arts sparring club for 9 years? Did I ever tell you that? We got a lot to talk about, bro. Anyway, there's a bit of a shadow on the screen here, but this is the Noahide monster. His demon has been set free, and he is sitting on the back porch of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. And militiaman is flying in the air, and he discovers him, and he's like, "Oh, what fresh hell is this?" So they start their fight anyway. No way, yes way, big guy. Lord of the Realm is here. So how long have you been taking boxing? That's interesting. Sparring is, to me, one of the most important things you can do if you're in any kind of martial arts. I feel like, in my experience, so like I really weirdly, I have not met any boxers, people that study boxing, but rather people that study different kinds of martial arts. And for some reason, like the indoctrination that they get from the schools that they go to, they don't spar in these schools. If they do, it's not really sparring. It's more like competition fighting, kind of, where it's like, okay, two guys go at it until the one wins or something, Or when they practice their techniques, they hit each other at full speed and full strength, which of course causes injury. And then you gotta take time off to heal because you got injured from your meathead classmates, and now you've gone backwards in your training because you got to take time off to heal, or your injury is so bad that you can't come back to martial arts. So none of these people have it right, and it's like, for the life of me, I can't understand why it's so fucking hard to understand, how to spar. It's not fucking brain surgery. Like, you're practicing timing, strategy, closing the range in between you and the opponent. And then you can kind of like, speed it up, or like dial it up, if you will, or not, depending on how comfortable you are with the opponent, or rather, the person you're working out with. And, that's sort of like, if you're really, really in control of yourself and you know how to not hurt each other or not injure each other, that's cool. It's really, really neat. And it's more than just physical, it's psychological, because being in the midst of, a fight, which isn't a real fight, but kind of a play fight, or a rehearsal fight, I shouldn't say play fight, like a rehearsal fight, then you get the psychological fight or flight response, which is a real chemical response. And then once you're in, hey, look at that, Necrowaffen's here. Cool, Heil, seek Heil. Anyway, so one of my goals in sparring has always been to try to enter that state of biological fear and then sustain it, like stay inside of that for as long as possible, so that I can practice essentially Zen. I don't know if you know what Zen is, but like, it's just like stillness of mind is essentially what it is. It's more of an observation state where you observe in a stoic kind of way. You sort of observe your thoughts, feelings, things happening around you. When you enter a Zen state, you have a really, really heightened sense of time awareness, and time slows down, and therefore your ability in your martial arts is much more elevated. Kind of not superhuman. It's not Star Wars. It's not the Force be with you. It's not that, but it definitely does take you above and beyond. And I believe that, like, your major sports people know about shit like that. It's kind of a thing. Anyway, cool beans, man. It's interesting. Oh, you're gone the whole time I've been talking about this. You said you'd be back in 10 minutes. Anyway, I'll be back 10. I want to hear about the martial arts. I've been boxing about a year and a half. I'm 3-0 as an amateur. Good for you. Did you hear anything I just said about martial arts? I just went through this like amazing description of the deep secrets of Kung Fu fully revealed on my new program, only for $99.99. Alright, I can turn this down a tiny bit. I'm always like yelling over the music. So I like my music loud. But not so loud that I have to yell over it. Necrowaffen. What a name. Holy cow. How'd you come up with that name? Thoughts on Robert J. Matthews. You're gonna have to kickstart my memory. Who is Robert J. Matthews? How do I know that name? Help me out there, buddy. All right. If you can answer that question, I will try to answer your question. Robert J. Matthews. Don't know. He was part of that group, The Order. I think you're a little more knowledgeable about that kind of esoteric stuff than myself. I know a lot, but I don't know everything. And so there's probably going to be people in the chat at some point tonight that will be able to talk about that with you. So I'm sorry for disappointing you on that, though. What do we got? What do we got here? Let's see. Put a new light bulb in this lamp next to me here. It's like 200 watt or something. It's literally hot. It's like sitting next to the thing. It's like, well, I need a fan on me now. He was an accelerationist. So the question really is, what do you think of accelerationism? I would say. So here's the thing. My view on that has changed quite a lot over the years. We're not. How can I say this? Like, we're not in a physical war. We're in an information war. We're in a culture war. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I don't. How do I say this? Like, I don't. I'm anti-violent in the sense that, like, who the fuck wants war? But if it comes to that, then we have to go full throttle. As you would. And I used to be kind of like, oh, there's something about that, But now I guess how it feels is it's all about like where is the Overton window? Where are things at the moment? And in an information war, acceleration would mean like, meme campaigns and shit where we would organize, armies of Pepes, to get out there and spam mainstream accounts, mainstream news, which I've done for years. I've been banned off of platforms, kicked off of accounts, whatever. It's always it's weird because like I feel like there's some form of algorithm that exists just for people like me, because even if I make a normie account, I'll suddenly get a pop-up that says, "Oh, you're not complying with our standards, some shit, bullshit." And I'm like, I didn't say a fucking single thing. This is just out and out discrimination. Like they know who I am. There's a kind of a digital footprint that you leave when you're a shitlord, you know. But I mean, in places like, say, South Africa, okay, I'll put it this way: in the UK, Ireland, France, Germany, Italy, in Europe, yes, I'm a very strong accelerationist. I think that everyone is just, I mean, there's own revolution is the way forward because they're literally in a fucking race war, literally. It's just, you know, Africans and Muslims in the streets with knives, you know, and like fireworks and machetes and raping girls and on and on. And they're literally in fucking war. I mean, it's just not with guns and trenches and planes and bombs. It's for real, you know. And I'm like, what the fuck are you waiting for? Like, what in the fuck are you waiting for? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand all this. Like, how can you allow this to continue? You know, why are you not organizing? And it's, I understand. I know the government and the draconian laws and all, everything I'm saying is very controversial. I know. But it's not, though, if you think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is controversial about saving your country from invaders and stopping your daughters from being raped and protecting your parents from being, you know, murdered in their homes at night or this or that or the next thing? There's just, that shit is I mean, I'm sure it's in your feed. It's definitely in my feed, but all day, every day, I get a waterfall of videos of shit like that. And it's been going on for goddamn years. Years. The war is on. Like, it's on. It's just, you know, I don't know what to fucking tell you. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's just get real about it, you know? Like, fucking stop talking nicey and get fucking real, you know? I don't know what else to tell you, you know? So, in that regard, yes, but like, excuse me. Okay, you're bringing up a really interesting topic because, so the whole black fatigue topic is now in the zeitgeist. And I'm seeing a lot of videos of African American people stepping up and saying, you know, we will lose a race war against whites. Like, this is insane. This is really, really bad. Stop, like, throwing gasoline on the fire. You know, they're starting, like, and I'm talking about, like, African Americans that are like 50 years old and older. They're not, you know, these stupid ghetto punks, you know. And they're trying to, you get what I'm trying to say. So if these people are literally, oh, and then there's also that Jewy Weinstein, I forget his first name. If Hippocratic Oath were here, he would tell me. But he's one of these like pop influencer guys that you see a lot online or whatever. I just know his last name's Weinstein. And there's clips going around of him meeting, having like sort of like Zoom calls with African Americans to subvert whites in how do I say this? The context of these meetings are like, okay, race war is coming, and this is what we're gonna do. Okay, here's the plan. You know, it's like fuck you. You know, it's like a typical Jew. You know, typical Jew, and you know he has. You know, on the face of him, it's all like, oh, I'm anti woke and I'm like conservative and everything. But then when it comes down to it, like he's right there, you know, subverting the whole fucking thing, you know. But I'll say for the record, I, with every fiber of my being, do not want a race war. I am not advocating for a race war or violence of any kind. At the same time, I strongly advocate for self-defense to whatever it takes to save your life and the life of your loved ones. So, it's a kind of thing where when your back is up against the wall, you're not going to just be like, oh, la la la. You're gonna do what needs to be done. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean I'm advocating for violence, obviously. What's more important or more interesting to me per se is the fact that people are actually talking about race war now. There was even something Trump was bringing up. Comey, that is in the news. I forget his first name. That he's the head of the FBI during Trump's first administration, and I guess Comey had said he had signaled something about like civil war, race war, but in America, a civil war would be a race war. You know what I'm saying? And he's going after Comey now. He's like, you're the fucking head of the FBI. You know what you're saying. You're not. Don't tell me you didn't know what you meant by that. Use some kind of code numbers. It's in the news right now if you look it up or whatever. So it's one of these like try as hard as you can for peaceful resolution, but get ready for the shit to hit the fan if need be, kind of. There's a saying, it's something like, uh, how's it go? A thing where, like, you're not nonviolent, you're harmless. If you don't have the capacity for violence, you're not nonviolent. You just don't have, you're literally harmless. You can't, you don't have the choice to make to be nonviolent. I think you understand what I'm trying to say. So it's one thing to, talk peace, but if you're not sort of ready in a martial sense or whatever, then it's you're on the losing end of the bargain, so to speak, if that makes any sense. Um, we were just talking about martial arts a little bit ago here. Um, I like that. I think it's really huge that this discussion of like, and again, I don't just the word race war is very very controversial. But you know, the Overton window is moving, and blacks are sensing that whites are finished. Like we're done. We're done. We're done. We're done. And that whole thing, the case with what's her face, Hendricks, Shiloh Hendricks, and all of that. It's gone viral, and it's kind of, and then there's of course the Nick Fuentes stuff that's out there that I don't think that's on like every black person's algorithm or whatever. I don't know that they know his content, but he talks very 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 explicitly about like how done we are, and so anyway, it's in the air. The conversation is in the air, and that's a good thing. As sort of dangerous as it may seem to some people, yeah, it's dangerous living in a world with blacks. That's black fatigue, where that's what is going down. Excuse me. So I don't know. I'm just really happy that people are talking about this stuff and that it's getting aired out. Um, I don't know. I guess that's the general answer, I suppose. Coronavirus is back. Let me check out some chats here. I think I missed a few things. Hello to the Artistic Arena. Hi. He was an excessive. I agree with you. RJM was in the 80s, but in this day and age, information wars is a good start. Yeah, it's where we are. Did you happen to see the huge march that happened in France with white nationalists? It was pretty amazing. So not only have I seen these things, I've been seeing. This is what I'm telling you. Like, my algorithm is super based. It's like super super based, and I get to see clips of really explicitly fascist and national socialist marches in Italy, Spain, and elsewhere. So it's on. I'll just say it's fucking on. Like it's not hidden. I love how places like Italy and Spain are very explicit about it. Of course, the English can't be that way. You've got and the Germans, fuck no, with their that's total. Anyway, don't go there. But yeah, it seems like France has the spirit. The spirit's there, and it's emerging. It's getting more out and out. Um, I'm really right now. What I'm really following closely is Trump's behavior and the things that he's doing. Because even Macron in France, I forget what the news was. Just something today where he was like, "Oh, we're gonna stop doing this." Oh no, he wants to recognize Palestine as whatever, recognize the Palestinians, which is totally against the Jew narrative. Like you're not allowed to say that. You can't do that. And like, why would he do that if Trump didn't set the table, so to speak? You know what I mean? Um, it's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm not gonna. What is it like? Don't count your chickens until they hatch, kind of thing. I'm not gonna get caught up in the copium or whatever. Um, I'm just waiting and watching. I feel like, okay, that's good. Okay, that's good. All right, wow, another step. Wow, another step. Okay. When are you going to spring the big fucking psyop on us, though? Because that's all they ever do. That's their whole thing. It's always like, you know, leading you into the trap of whatever. And what is the trap? Is it like, oh, Israel is abandoned. We have to use nuclear weapons now? Is that what this is about? I mean, that's not impossible. What about the Samson option? Right? Hello? You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not, so I'm not kind of sold totally yet on the Trump thing. I really am not. I'm not poo-pooing what he's doing. I think it's good to see the things he's doing. That's fine. But we're not out of the fucking woods, guys. We're not out of the woods, by a long shot, frankly. But to me, that's what's interesting at the moment. I guess that's what I got to say about that. Did you? I'm back. Okay. All right. What are your thoughts on all those things? I would, like to share your thoughts. Let's see here. Coronavirus. Um, you're doing boxing. That's awesome. Um, how'd you get into boxing? What do you like about boxing? I love boxing. Boxing to me is like, as far as sports, because I don't like sports, but boxing is like probably the only sport that I can really watch. Kickboxing's fun. I hate MMA, and I really don't like MMA. It's very funny because, like, the two things, like manga and MMA, these are the things that everybody wants to talk to me about, and they want to relate with me. Like, oh, you do martial arts? Oh, yeah, MMA, MMA. I'm like, I hate MMA. And they're like, oh, you do comics? Oh, yeah, I love manga, manga, manga. And I'm like, I hate manga. So it's like I'm kind of shitting on myself and by doing that. But How can you hate MMA? So I will tell you. Thank you for asking. And do you really want to know? Because here comes the shit. So I remember when MMA started, and this was before the Gracie family took over the sport. There is, you can look these things up. There's some kind of I don't know if I want to say like gangster type shit, but it's basically somehow or other they monopolized the sport and turned it into like theirs, you know. And it things like this happen in boxing and stuff where you have rigged fights and stuff. So I'll give you an example. Anybody who was going to fight a Royce, they would have to go to the studio and like sort of like trial fight whoever the dude was. I forget his name. Gracie, whatever the fuck his name is. And if they could beat him, then he could fight on TV in like an actual MMA match. Now tell me that's not fucking bullshit. That's not, get the fuck out of here, you know. And then secondly, like I just have a massive chip on my shoulder about like ground fighting. I think ground fighting is fine for sport, but I think it's the very last thing you would want to depend on in an actual street fight. I think it's retarded. Like you're surrounded by people, you have no idea what the surface is like. Is it broken glass? Are you, once you're on the ground, anybody can come up and just start kicking you in the head. You know what I'm saying? There's no, it's not ideal. You know, you want to train to not go to the ground, if that makes sense. You know, I mean, it's great if you've got ground skills. That's fine. I'm not like saying that there's something wrong with that. But if you have to go to the ground, then you're not a really good fighter. That's how I feel about the topic. Um, and I know that I make a lot of people mad when I say this shit. I've gotten in a lot of heated discussions, debates, arguments about this. Like it's not something that I get mad about. I don't get like emotional about it, but other people do. They get super fucking huffy about it. Like they, how dare you say that you can't say this? So I won't go into detail, but there's a certain guy that I knew who was chip on his shoulder about this, that he, with my consent, went and contacted like this teacher who runs like an MMA school, not MMA, like a jiu-jitsu school, and try to schedule a fight between him and myself at my so-called friend's studio. And I didn't agree to this. I was like, well, I'll talk to the guy and we'll discuss if like the terms of like if we're gonna do this. And then the guy trying to set up this fight, and I mean I'll spar with the guy. I'm not gonna fight the guy, you know. So the guy that was trying to set this up said, "Oh, okay, well, we'll bring your whole school, bring all your students and they can watch." What the fuck is fucking wrong with you? Are you out of your fucking mind? I will sue your goddamn ass into the fucking ground, you piece of fucking shit. Can you imagine that? Okay, let's see. I'm going to call my buddy who runs a school, and I'm going to set up a fight in my home and bring all your students with you. So, are you out of your goddamn mind? I mean, seriously, man, that's mind blowing to me, and it just shows that like the insane kind of narcissistic arrogance of this fucking douchebag. What a fucking thing to do! Holy shit. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to sort of maintain a certain like decorum. I'm in this kind of, I got kind of like tagged into this chat, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not a coward or whatever, but I'm like, this is the ongoing debate, is that I like to spar, and I'll definitely spar with you if you can agree to terms in which neither of us are going to get hurt. Because if you accelerate, then I have to accelerate, and if I have to accelerate, or either then you're going to accelerate, and what's the end result? Both one of us is going to get severely injured, and then now I'm taking you to goddamn court, you motherfucker. You see what I'm trying to say? So this is the thing that upsets me. It's like, why can't we just spar? Why is this like so? Why does this have to be like duel to the death because MMA is better than any other martial art? And I've had this discussion so many times, and it irritates the fuck out of me. You're welcome to like it. You don't have to not like it because I don't like it. Not everybody in the world has to like the same shit. But that fucking that really, you can tell I'm still upset about it because it's like, I mean, think about it, man. I mean, how would you like to be put in a situation like that? It's very, very threatening. So I went out on my own and sought out, what do you call them, like jujitsu guys, to come to my sparring club and so that I could like try it out. I'm like, I haven't sparred a jujitsu guy. What's going to happen? And so through my network of friends, I'm like, hey, do you know anybody? Blah blah blah. And like, oh yeah. And so these two guys came, and one was advanced, one was like only a couple years, something, and they were completely cool. They totally understood the idea, of like, if you're able to get me on the ground, then we'll say that you won, okay? Because my objective is to not go to the ground. Okay, are we cool? We got an agreement? Shake hands? Okay, so go. And then I just destroyed them, because they don't have techniques to not go to the ground. And it's like, of course, people should learn as much as they can. And I'm not really against it. It's just that, I don't know. I just don't feel like, I don't know. I have a thing about it. I guess I do have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about that. But the other thing too is like the idea of like rolling around a mat all day with a sweaty man on top of me is not my idea of a thing I want to do for training of any kind. So that's a thing. That's another aspect of it, personally. But there's so much you can do to avoid going to the ground that to me I just don't even see the purpose of it. Like, why waste my time training things that I don't need? You know. And so, yeah, it's a discussion. It's a big cause of contention and all that horse shit. So now I'm done with my speech. I am going to talk about flowers and bunny rabbits and happy things. So let me first take a look at the chat to catch up with my folks here. Kobeni is here, and are you male or female, Kobeni? I don't know. Whenever I see those manga cartoon faces, I just assume it's a girl. Have you ever used getting high to get better at making your drawing and stuff? Absolutely not. I'm not against marijuana, but it, I, I don't think that would make me better at it. I would assume that it would make me less focused. So, anyway, moving on. I'm backing up quite a lot here. Do you happen to see the huge? Read that. I'm back. How can you hate MMA? Chatelet. Flash is here. Awesome. Hey, Luke Mason. We got some cool fucking people in the house here, guys. We're ready to start the revolution. Frederick Voss Grün is MMA. In MMA is fucking beast. I'm quite sure there's a lot of beasts out there in the sport. I am so, that's lovely. Okay, everyone always makes that argument, but the way I see it is if you want to jump, if they want to jump you, they're going to do it whether you're on your feet or on the ground. Every MMA guy says exactly that same thing. So have you ever used, I read that, he is a new guy and looks to be a force to be reckoned with. But like you're saying, he's mainly a ground guy. So again, in the ring, that's fine and dandy, but in the real world, I wouldn't rely on it. Uh, that's why you have to spar with your friends that won't have an ego. Thank you. That is so beautifully said. That's so perfectly said. It's really, it all boils down to ego. Like, don't be a douchebag. It's not, that apparently is impossible for some people. They can't not be a douchebag. Do you talking in a Scorpion and Darth Vader voice? um, Luke, I am your father. Okay, that's my Darth Vader. What martial art do you train? So, okay. I've done many martial arts. I started out in Jeet Kune Do. Then I went on to Hungar. I don't even know if you know what Hungar is. It's like five animal Southern Chinese Kung Fu. Then I moved to New York City and I joined Shaolin Temple for 3 years, where I did like Olympic level martial arts, really super. Like you can't get any higher than Shaolin as far as kung fu is concerned. And then I moved to Taiwan, where I lived with a Tai Chi master with his family, and then I studied a system called Long Fist, and also there's a lot of qigong in there, and that's a whole other topic that it's just a big can of worms. Because energy work mixes in a lot with kung fu, and that's something we don't know much about in the West. Anyway, and then when I came back to the States, I found this amazing kung fu school that does all kinds of animal styles. So I did dragon, panther, snake, crane, some more tiger. And that's about it. And so over the years, then like I have a one of my best friends was a Wing Chun teacher. So since he was my best buddy, I'd hang out and spar with him all the time. And then he would have me come to his school and spar all of his students. And so, and then like the last two sparring partners that I had, one was a teacher of a praying mantis school. So like yeah, I'm at a place where I spar the teachers of schools. Like that's where I'm at. And then my other buddy was a dude who came out of this kind of hybrid system. He was from New York City, and the guy in the New York City school somehow combined Wing Chun with karate, which is kind of neat in a way. It's a very like street oriented system. Lots of kicking and for like long range, and then Wing Chun stuff for the short range. I already knew. I mean, I'd sparred so many Wing Chun guys after all those years that it just became like second nature to deal with that. Anyway, took me 10 minutes to open the fridge. Okay, then another friend says, I like all kinds of martial arts, including boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, but I'm not a fan of simian culture. Then, so I understand what you're saying. Well, it's a sort of a, yes. Likewise, friend, how are you not on Donald's? Uh, yes, that's actually a good question. Um, that's a very good question. I think we're on Instagram together. Maybe I can get connected there. That would be a good thing. Shit, I know my homie. I didn't do nothing. The invisible effect. Sorry, visibility effect on that character is very cool. Oh, thanks. I'm trying to put it on screen here. Yeah, where I'm kind of fading him out. That's kind of I like that about the character. It's neat. Necrowaffen says not to change the subject, but your opinion on George Lincoln Rockwell. Hold on, let me just finish the chat real fast. I second that. The disappearing effect is awesome. Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee shit. Good stuff. E-Master is here. Welcome, buddy. Hippocratic Oath is back. Great to have you. So, I think you might have asked me this question already. Um, you know, I've never read anything that he's written, but I've seen dozens of speeches by him. I think he's awesome. I think he's very much like kind of a product of his time, his generation. He's a great inspiration to us. I guess I feel like it might be difficult to sort of recycle him into the mainstream, excuse me, because of how explicit he was in terms of being a National Socialist. But it's people like that that really do make you see that like National Socialism is a great ideology, and it's good for us, and that we should learn about it and figure out how to incorporate it into American politics and culture. There's an interesting thing about George Lincoln Rockwell. He attended like some huge Black Panther convention meeting thingy with some of his dudes or whatever. And he tried to form like an alliance with the Black Panthers, saying like, we really have the same goals. We want autonomy. It's kind of interesting. And I love how that contradicts the whole narrative, the whole sort of, white man bad Nazi narrative, to see how they were working together, in that regard. I think that's funny whenever I see these kind of contradictions. And that is sort of, you get the idea. Um, but he's quite a bright guy for sure. Let's see what's going on. Splatter Cats here. Says, Corona says Rockwell's great, big inspiration to me in reading his book currently, White Power. Great book, check it out. Luke says I enjoyed White Power by Rockwell. His breakdown of NS is how it follows the laws of nature was brilliant. So you guys, I want to say Luke Mason is a really close friend of mine. So is Flash, and these guys are very advanced. Like I look up to them in for different reasons. Like all of it is kind of everything that I am is there's parts of what they are. We relate, and if it's martial arts, art, culture, our movement, all of this stuff. You can learn a lot from them. So like that's part of why it's so good to do these kind of shows and have a kind of time to hang out, get to meet some new people, make some connections, whatever, all that good stuff. It's very healthy. So I appreciate the questions, and I appreciate you guys all being here and stuff, good stuff. Flash is very modest. You shouldn't be so modest. He's a super brilliant guy, incredible artist. Just have like immense, you know, admiration for you, as well as Luke. Luke makes me laugh. The guy makes me laugh my ass off. That's another fun thing. He's been on the show several times also, which is cool. I need to put some music on. I'm kind of losing my mind here a little bit. Hang on. It's too quiet. Can't stand the sound of my own voice. Hold on. Yes, I'm still here. But that's not the sound. Hold on, boys. All right, lovely, lovely. What have you got here? I've never read it, but I've heard it reminded me of what it's about. Hello, Zoe. Zoe's here. How are we doing, Zoe? I've had several people named Zoe visit the show, and I don't know if you're someone who's been here before or a new person. Either way, I welcome you with open arms. Time for a little comic book illustration and revolutionary talk with the coolest kids on the block. Yes, sirree, Bob. All right. Somebody was asking me recently, when are you going to start having guests on your show again? And I'm like, yeah. It's I haven't really done shows in a while. The last one was Cultured Thug. That was a freaking stellar show. I hope you guys know who Cultured Thug is. Like he's an expert on fascism. He had a channel. He still has his channel on YouTube, but he's moved over to what do you call it? Rumble. A little safer over there. Um, I tried setting up a Rumble, and then they like require OBS, and I'm like, okay, shit, I gotta learn OBS now. Okay, what's this? And then I was like, I just got so frustrated with it that I'm like, fuck it, you know. So I don't know. I might, if I, you know, I might be there in the future. I don't know. But anyway, I'm here for now. As long as the feds still want me here as a, what do you call that? They're using me as a lightning rod. They want me to attract people that they can investigate, and like, you know, they lurk, watch the show, and then they go and look up everybody who came to the show. That's how they operate. Right now they're wondering how I know that. Anyway. Jonathan Bowden. Oh boy, the chat's moving here. Zoe, do you like the show Bob's Burgers? Sorry for my off topic. Yeah, I don't have a lot of time to watch TV. It looks like a fun show. I don't know. What can you tell me about it? Is there anything? Should I watch Bob's Burgers? I don't even know. But I'm like I'm sort of a guy that's just got a million projects. I had some kind of bad luck recently, and I've got a debt that I need to. I got some financial issues that I'm working through, so I don't, you know, whatever free time I have left is going to be for either this or a second job of some kind, you know. So I'm kind of in that zone right now. I'd love to work for the FBI, you know, if they have like a little job for me or something, you know, shoot me a message or something, you know. Maybe under Trump, we'll get like a real FBI that actually doesn't, you know, like fuck children and stuff, you know. That'd be nice. You know, if they were like involved in getting rid of real domestic terrorists like MS-13 or Muslims or all of that shit. I feel like I'm missing a lot of chat here. Turner Diaries. Wow, I'm missing a lot of chat. Look, I've got a list of books trying to get to read. Oh man, hello again, sir. Okay, Zoe's back. Turner Diaries, The Zog versus White Revolutionaries. Excellent read. It's a novel guideline to eventual Orwellian written 80s. So William Pierce. I've got a list of books I'm trying to get reading. How do I highlight someone so I can respond specifically? You put an at in front of their name, right? Put an at and then write their name in. Cultured Thug was Jonathan Bowden, I thought. Oh well, the name, or rather the term Cultured Thug comes from Jonathan Bowden, but that's my buddy's sort of like YouTube name, you know, kind of like American Zarathustra used to be my name, you know. If you know what I'm trying to say. thought you summarized it masterfully, bro. Do you like the show? I read that. Because the term guide is Brett Weinstein. Well, Brett Weinstein. I was just talking about him earlier before you came on the show. How he was, trying to consult blacks to prepare for a race war. You know the clip. It's kind of viral. He was talking about white people, this and that. And it's funny because like if you look at the black guys in the Zoom call, they're pretty they're pretty scared. Like they're really like, we better focus. Do what this guy tells me. But I can't. So like, I don't think there's ever gonna be a race war, like a full on, Hollywood kind of race war type thing. What it is it's what's going on in Europe, where you just have, random Muslims and Africans walking the streets with machetes and knives and just randomly attacking people. That's the race war, and we're living it. We're in it now. So, this is what I was talking about earlier on the show. Is like that's the stuff that we need to be cognizant of. You know, um, yeah, because it's like the information war, or uh, everything now is like fourth, fifth generation warfare. They're using chemtrails to kill us. They're using vaccines to kill us. Um, they're using, LGBT to depopulate us. You see what I'm saying? They're not fighting with bullets. That age is gone. Now it's, like you could say that like foreigners are a biological agent. That's a kind of biological warfare. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's the word race war is very, very, it's controversial, obviously, but I think it's sort of a, I don't want to say a fantasy, but it's a misnomer, I guess, or something, because there's never, it's not going to look like World War One. It's not like that. Uh, where is Cultured Thug? He's on Rumble, so he's on X as well, though. He has his old videos on YouTube, so you can still find them there, but it's not like his whole catalog, you know. Um, yeah, he and we talked for quite a bit after his interview, and we were just like so jazzed. Um, I don't know. I'm dealing with some financial issues and stuff, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna make it all work somehow magically. Maybe I'll call Richard Spencer and tell him to give me $1 million or something. Oh, okay. Um, there's an interview on his channel with a guy calling himself Cultured. Oh, okay. Jonathan Bolden, H.P. Lovecraft's awesome. So, Zoe says, so it's basically a family who owns a burger restaurant. Their kids trouble, have fun, fun, fun. Woohoo! Can I just search Cultured Thug? Yeah, yeah, go ahead. A real FBI doesn't have children on my side. Oh, yeah. Well, not all of them, but you know how there's the whole, like, I mean, it's well known about things like how their connection with like uh, drugs in South America, human trafficking, um, MK Ultra. You know, there's a lot of damn crazy shit going on in there. You know. Anyway, it's interesting because like I think over there's times in the past where, like say in the '90s, for example, people would make video testimonials about stuff like this, never knowing that the internet's coming, you know, and that this stuff doesn't go away. Like it's there, and you dig back into that, and you know, they might have thought like, oh, probably nobody's really going to hear this, so I'll just say what I know, and then they end up like revealing all kinds of insane shit. I used to do Suffragette City in a band in high school. That was so fun. Um, Necrowaffen, does anyone own the Thomas Dalton edition? Kent, bro, I love the way you do the classic comic shadows with the areas of black. Let me take a quick moment to show you some recent work, Luke, because I know what you're doing right now with your art, and it might be a nice inspiration to you. Share some recent work. Give me a little bit here. I don't know. Did you see this page? I mean, this is where militiaman discovers his pregnant wife was murdered by Judeo-Christian news, and he like this is like pictures of his face all contorted as he's kind of flipping out over what they did to her. And then like his eyes, you can see, he opens them up and they've gone black and he transforms. This is actually the page right before he comes in. There's not a lot of crazy shadows here. And then after he sees that, this is where he transforms into this. He changes from like Trump tard, Republic tard into like a sort of, I would say like a fascist angel of death. I only mean that in the sense of like, that he would, go after people who killed his wife. So anyway, there it is, and there you go, and now you know. It's, thank you. I appreciate your kind words, sir. Competing for money, jobs, culture, views, sex. I lost the context of what you're saying, Flash. What is that connected to? Oh, here's something that our new friends might appreciate. Necrowaffen. So if you zooming in here, okay, this character broke into this area to gather intel, and he finds these blueprints with schematics for a UFO, and then it's got these letters are actual like letters that were found on UFOs, minus the swastikas. I added those. I think some of you know about stuff like the Vril Society and Marie Arsich and all that. And then I've got Lazar 51, Area 51, Bob Lazar, it's little things. in the beginning of the story, there's a satellite with a like a sort of a quasi Freemason symbol on it that they use to shoot and kill MAGA force. But the thing is, we live in this age where they have, they've got like space lasers, basically. They create like, like Maui. There's forest fires in California. They've used it in different places in different times. A lot of Easter eggs in here. Anyway, oops. Sorry, the whole page blows my mind. It reminds me of outlaw comics like Faust. Wow. Oh yeah, this page is very powerful. Corona says, you guys believe in the Vril Society and all that Hyperborean stuff. So, I research it. I know a lot of things related to it. And so I'll give you this. So here's my approach to pretty much everything. Think of yourself like a detective or even a lawyer, and you need to find information that corroborates to the point where you can believe something beyond a reasonable doubt. Like if I had to go to court and prove the Nazis had UFOs, there is enough evidence to show that. There's definitely enough evidence to show that. And then some, because like that's become field now. We talk about Jason Reza Giorgiani on this show somewhat frequently, and he's really, really deep down that rabbit hole. He's got a lot of something. The topic of Vril, Vril, is still something I haven't fully apprehended, because they say, or what I've read is that Vril is chi, like prana, life energy. But I strongly feel that there's much, much more to it than that. It's a kind of a German occult society. After World War II, I'm 90% sure that either the Americans or the Russians or both got a hold of all of the Vril documents, and those are, under lock and key. And it's a kind of occult technology that, I'm not going to know it or understand it fully because there's so little information about it. But I've been trying to find out about that more. Anyway, I learned Qi in Chinese martial arts. So it's something that is like a lifestyle. It's something that I've known for many, many years, and blah, 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 blah. So that much I can at least say, like, I know from an actual physical experience. I understand that. Hence, I want to know. Like, you can imagine coming out of like Chinese martial arts where I'm learning Qigong and Qi meditation, all this stuff. And then I find out that like the Nazis had an esoteric form of it. I'm like, wow, I gotta know what that is, holy shit, I gotta find out what that is. Like you can imagine how exciting that is to me to try to learn that. But again, it doesn't, my desk is falling apart here. You can do the math. You understand what I'm trying to say. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up on the chat. Oh yeah, guys, believe in Real Society. I'd like to, but I don't know enough about it. Yep, I believe it's just because I want it to be real. I have the book that Real Society comes from. Okay, tell me about it then. If you do, then I must know. You have to. You gotta share that with me. No shoes on the feet. Oh, by the way, this is the new page today. It's just penciled, so it's hard to see. But basically, Dark MAGA is going to Washington, D.C. to find and kill the Judeo-Christian News people that killed his wife and baby. And by now they've released the Noahide creature who's sitting on the back steps of the Capitol building. So like, I don't know if you can see this. I'll try to zoom in, but can you see this little guy down here? Like that's the scale of a human being to the Noahide demon to show you like how large he is. These are the steps, on the, and this is literally taken from the actual architecture of the Capitol building and the back of it. So now, like, Militiaman, Dark Maga, he's like, what fresh hell is this, And, it looks like the work of the small hats. Well, I'm going to send you all back to hell. And so he, uses his rage and his anger and his pain to attack the demon. Come on down, find the page. I have to create like a narrative so that I can use pages in order. Oh, there it is. So then as he's coming down, the demon like vomits this kind of like acidic spray vomit out and hits Militiaman, who then is like, screaming, and his father's like, oh God, and then this whole, battle ensues basically. But I discovered I made a mistake, and I'm gonna have to fix in Photoshop. So we gotta do a little Photoshop surgery. And it's embarrassing for me to admit this, but when you have like 10 trillion things to figure out or whatever, then to remember about every detail of every costume, then this shit happens. So how am I gonna do this? Let's see, this should probably go down. So thanks to the beauty of Photoshop, I can just go in there and erase things. I have this stuff right here, which is like, it's like kind of a whiteout ink that I could put on the page, but it just gets gooey and weird, and I don't like it. So it's easier to, and it's better to do it in Photoshop. You can't tell the difference. Focus my eraser. This book for Royal Society. Maria Such was a babe. She was. I love that you're calling out the Noahide agenda in this book. Yes, me too. And the allegory of it is that it's a demon that is going to take over the world. you know, that like, the secret society, the so-called Freemasons, they, use technology like the CERN atom collider thingy and to pull it out, and then they have some kind of like ritual, whatever, to welcome him to Earth. And then, since they are the chosen people, they get to rule over the world, under the demon Noahide, because they're chosen, the chosen ones, because God chose them. Didn't choose anyone else, just chose them. Nobody else. Not you, not me, not the Chinese, not the Indians, not the Aboriginals. Nope, we didn't get chosen. Nope. I think of the arrogance of like saying like, we're the only people that are real people on Earth, and everyone else is a beast. And as such, we have the right to rob, rape, kill, and enslave you. Oh, yummy blood. Look what we just discovered. We can drink the blood. We're going to bake it into our bread. How nice. How appetizing. I know some of you get the references and some of you don't, but someday soon you will. That's what the fight's all about, is to save humanity from this shit. Yes, sir. Let's see, me too, some deep lore that will lead people down a rabbit hole for sure. Marie Orsich was, I read that. Um, Bombay, Indian Magic. I can't wait for this book. Oh, dude. Me too. Orsich is Murdoch Chan. Interesting. Well, yeah, those shows themselves. Yeah, that's just I mean, one thing I always say is like, if your God calls on you to like murder or enslave other people, then your God is clearly the devil. You see what I'm saying? And that's I think even a child could agree with something like that. You know, it's very, very obvious. It's no God at all. It's quite amazing how, like, if you call something a religion, if you just, oh, it's a religion, then, oh, well, then you're off the hook. You know, you can do anything. Yeah, no, you can. Oh, it's a religion. It's very spiritual. You know, like those tunnels under Manhattan or Brooklyn, and they're very spiritual tunnels. You know, those blood-stained mattresses, they're very spiritual. So spiritual. Anyway, this song is kind of silly, so I might have to turn that off. Um, yeah, I think I will. This is silly. Started with the Thule Society. What happened to Murdoch? Good question. I know that is actually that was like so huge for such a while, and then just disappeared. I gotta drink some water. Ah, so good, so good. You know, I'm gonna be an impetuous child and move on to another page. I just sometimes I get kind of tired of doing the same thing, and I'm like, you know, I need to switch it up. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. All right, all right, all right. Enough, enough. Let's get to work. Started with the Thule Society. I think they quit from a lack of funding combined with censorship, but that's just my theory. So I don't know if it's you, Luke. Somebody keeps saying to me like, "That's how they get you," you know. And the point being that like, you know, you got day jobs and you got shit that you got to get done, and like, you get overwhelmed with life, you know, and that's how they get you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of the bitch of it, you know. Um, start. Oh, let's see, Luke. What's going on here? Robert Piles here. Good to have you. I think I read that. Well, yes, bro. I always say that because it's true. All right. I know. Why did my chat get deleted? Oh, so we've discovered that YouTube randomly deletes things that people say on my show. I wonder how that's happening. It's just, is it just a glitch in the matrix? I don't know. Presumably somebody is tuning in to these shows. What did you say in it? I mean, maybe you can just type it again. You know, was it like something that YouTube would want to delete? You know, but this has happened like frequently. There's been many occasions where that happened. People are like, "What happened to my? I just wrote something. Where did it go?" And like we've got Splattercat has become the moderator for the chat, and it's really refreshing not to have like annoying kids in the chat today this time. But he'll delete things that are you know inappropriate or whatever. But that's not what's happening here. There's some other force at play. I don't know what it is. Anyway, okay, so that's kind of speed lines there to give a little action. Yeah, I got kind of huffy about that whole martial arts thing earlier, but I mean, try to imagine somebody contacting a teacher of a school to set up like a fight with you and him in front of his entire school without your consent. How would you feel about that? Would you be like, what in the fuck are you doing? Like, are you out of your fucking mind? And that's the weird thing of this particular guy. I think he's got some kind of mental issues that I feel bad about, but I think there's some actual biological things going on that are changing his behavior, which is very sad, actually. But I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? I don't know. I guess I'm the bad person somehow. Um, Where are we in the chat? Brendan O'Connell is saying the same thing. They are removing the audio in specific areas of his video. His followers notified him. Fascinating. I'm nowhere near the level of Brendan O'Connell. I mean, he's way, way, way above me in terms of his content and stuff. You know, he's. I don't agree with everything he says, but like he's the real deal. You know what I mean? I know his heart's in the right place, but that's fine. Anyway, yeah, I guess this is a thing. It's probably automated in some way too. Robert says YouTube won't let me put links in the chat, so you don't feel bad. That's annoying. What you can do. This song reminds me of Flash Gordon's excellent Thor video. Oh, cool. Why? Which one? Why did my chat get it up? So you can put links in the what do you call it? In the like the comments section. And I've many times I've told people to do that, and nobody does it. So I'm like, but do what you want to do, I guess. I lost the fucking thing again. Where did it go? There it is. Oh, I see. Okay. This is yeah. Well, that's not gonna work. I'm gonna have to figure that out. I'll have to. Like what happens when you make a mistake? You draw it on another sheet of paper and then you like import it in basically. But I'll be very cautious. You know what I'll do? I'll tape this up to the table, and then it'll be in front of me all the time. It's getting really warm in my studio. I feel like the weather is changing. I don't know how it is where you guys are, but it's getting nice over here. How are we doing on time? All right, not bad. Brandon, hold on here. Of course, there goes the music. Corona, YouTube won't let me read that. I just watched the documentary about the Jewish blood libels. I knew of it, but the documentary I saw was so in depth. It was unbelievably abhorrent. I know a good bit about it. It is profoundly terrifying and just abhorrent is a perfect word for that. Brendan is part Aboriginal, so I ignore his occasional crash outs. He has good content. Flash did an awesome lightning video to the boys at Back in Town. Cool. Weeks ago, I listened to an enlightening War Strike episode about the blood libels. It blew my mind. Yeah, I don't know. For anybody who's not, let's say somebody's listening to the playback of this and they're wondering what's a blood libel, well, how would you describe it? And you write that in the chat and I'll read it. As we go into the illustration with a dry moment. My laptop just jammed up. Isn't that interesting? Hold on. I did actually just get a new martial arts student today. So I'm going to start teaching him on Monday. He's an absolute beginner, young guy. Have to kind of see how it goes. But that's good. New Money is here. Hey, New Money, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a while. How you been? Let's see. Simon of Trent, Saint Simon, right? He's a saint. I believe they sainted him. So let's read this here. We're talking about blood libel. A few weeks ago, I read it. So Simon of Trent was a boy. What was that? Belgium? Where was that? Anyway, it was a boy who was kidnapped by some rabbis, and they did their blood libel sacrifice on him, where they actually use like special tools where they cut Hebrew letters into their skin in specific locations around the body because it's part of their black magic Kabbalah. And then they use these straws to suck the blood out of those locations. So, and they literally just suck the blood dry and like kill these kids. There's cases of like, children's bodies being found in America in like the 1950s, and they found all these boys' naked bodies in this ditch, and they did some research on it, and they found out, were these rabbis that did it. There's actually like a holiday that they do this, like every year on this specific holiday. They try to kidnap white boys, white children. I don't think it has to be a boy, but this is what I mean about like they call it a religion. It's fucking crazy. What the fuck? What in the fuck? You know, our greatest ally. Pretty dark shit, man. Very, very dark shit. I find it takes a lot of courage to actually like look at this shit, to look it up and to like literally face the truth of it. Just like look it dead in the eye. It's really uncomfortable, you know. Blood libel is when uh, Beg- Begalians kidnap Gentile children and acting like vampires. How's it going? Okay. Don't they say the story of Dracula is based off Jews? Would that be a blood libel? You know what? The Bela Lugosi, there's photographs of him in the film, and if you zoom in real close, you can see he's wearing a small Star of David necklace. So I don't know if Bela Lugosi is Jewish himself, but that seems to indicate something. You know what I'm saying? I think Dracula is an example of Hegelian projection. Dude, what university did you go to get this amazing? You're using all these amazing ideas, and you must be like a professor of all this stuff. Italy, Simon is a saint now. Okay, so beware the tunnels of the Begalians. Yeah, I'm feeling a story coming. I feel like in development here, the Begalian tunnels. This usually happens at Passover. Thank you. I had Hippocratic Oath for the win. 100 points right there. New Money says it tends to coincide with Passover, which makes sense when you think about why they celebrate Passover in the first place. And it's usually boys C. William of Norwich and little Saint Hugh of Lincoln. It's fucking insane that there's like so many of them. Um, uh, it's insane. I guess what's insane is how well the Begalians have hidden their history from us, and trained us to think that they are somehow like sacred and protected and untouchable. You know what I mean? Um, I know you guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Um, I mean, how many years and how much effort, among so many people over so much time and space to control that narrative. All right, guys, let's get into it. What is your take on Trump and all the things he's been doing? So, quick review. He apparently made a deal with Saudi Arabia with the oil and some shit, and he took sanctions off of Syria. He says he's going to recognize a Palestinian state. We're probably all in agreement on these things, but I would just like to hear, if there's any kind of unique thoughts that anyone has to kind of share, put in the pot, so to speak. One thing that did come to mind is the notion of like if Israel is, isolated so much that it could use nuclear arms. There's always the Samson option. But I think you know what I'm trying to say. Like, is this, maybe Trump isolating them? Is that a way to kind of like give them a reason to do something they shouldn't be doing? Do you guys know what I'm trying to say by that? Like that's just a kind of a conspiracy theory that they would come up with. A lot of people are smoking the copium right now, big time. Feeling like it's funny because like the Kanye song is out, and then Trump's doing all these things, and everybody's making like really funny videos and stuff. Combining those things, and it's got everybody kind of high right now. I don't know if that's like in your algorithm or what, but that's definitely in mine. Let's see. It's theater. Uh, let's see. Reading on. Oh, sorry. A lot of chat I gotta catch up with here. Beware the tunnels of the Begalians. This usually happens. Passover. Read that. Usually really cool to see you work, Donald. So I appreciate that. I think that's why people come to the show is to watch me work, but maybe not. I have no idea what Begalian means. It's like the bagel people, the people who eat bagels. Get it? Badumpa, the Begalians. Means I tried to look it up. You tried to look it up in front of bagel shops. Yeah, they're from New York and they like to eat bagels, and you know they like to watch the show Seinfeld as well, and Friends. It's like anyway. I'll just stop. You know what? I saw a pilot for Friends, or not Friends, for another show that was going to be on at the same time as Seinfeld. No, no, not Seinfeld. As Friends, and it was all all the actors were goyim. They were all like whites. There were, I don't know. There might have been a black girl or something in there, but there weren't Jews, is what I'm saying. and they had some great young talent in there. And you look at it and you're like, wow, man, this could have been the big show of like whatever the '90s, but instead we got Friends, and that of course has the Begalians in it. So I'm wondering if somebody, some Begalians saw that and they're like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. We need a show that's the same content but with our people in it. You know what I mean? I know you know what I mean. I gotta make a T-shirt that says "You know what I mean." I know you know what I mean. They didn't hide it well enough, and slowly but surely the masses are figuring out. True, I guess. Well, the internet's like a Pandora's box too, right? I guess it's related to bagels. Bagalians are the chosen ones of the great bagel in the sky. Good one. It's all theater to run down the clock, so to speak. Regarding Trump, Trump is a washed out boomer. That's my take. I think the same option is just a bluff. Oh, I'm sorry. I think the Samson option is just a bluff. They love themselves far too much for mutual assured destruction. Interesting, interesting. Italy and in Trent, they took away his sainthood in 1963. Why? I guess the Begalians probably had something to do with that. I'm extremely happy that South African whites are coming to the States as refugees. Now there's a massive white pill, bro. I had this idea years ago. I'm like, why are we not importing like all the white South Africans? Like we need them now, and it's so cool. I've talked about this a couple times on the show already. I just have pretty much the same thing to say every time, that like even Matt Walsh was like coming out and saying like like, how do I say, like, because they're white South Africans, that doesn't fit the anti-white narrative. So it's nice to hear Matt Walsh say something like that, where he's acknowledging that white replacement is an agenda, that we're in and dealing with. Where do you think he's going? I mean, somebody was saying like he should just quit the Daily Wire. Um, interesting. He seems to be. He's getting dangerously close to saying things he's not supposed to be saying. There's that one clip, I don't know if you've seen it, where he's in a room with like a bunch of those news reporters, and Ben Shapiro's in the room, and he innocently is like, I don't understand why we would give any of our money to any other country, like blah 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 blah. And you can see fucking Ben Shapiro's, you know how he'll dip his chin down and then he like looks underneath those big bushy eyebrows, and he has that kind of like that wormy squirmy evil look. And oh my god, it's funny. Anyway, Flower Girl's here. Yay! Yo, what's up? How we doing, Flower Girl? We're doing a little bit of comic book action, and we're talking politics. Just getting a sense of what's going on. I hope there'll be more white South Africans coming. I think that would be great. New Money says, I like the Begalians. Def gonna put it into my daily rotation. That's funny. I'm a little embarrassed that South African whites are coming here. I would immediately give them farmland in Wyoming so they couldn't see our nogs. Oh, God. I have a story about that, actually, because I used to live with a South African guy in Taiwan, believe it or not. We worked at the same school, and we were roommates for a year. The Samson option is like expecting a narcissist pretty boy to cut their own face to hurt you. Just not gonna fucking happen, right? Oaf says, yeah, or sorry, Pyle says, yeah, they most likely have PTSD, seeing them after dealing with Nogs in their own country. I feel like our movement has given Matt Walsh courage to say more. Yeah, that's kind of the thing that I'm feeling right now, is that it seems as if the Overton window is moving enough that the normie grifters can start actually talking about like white identity and the stuff that's happening, you know, um, or at least to name the Jew, you know what I'm saying? Um, we'll see about that. But so far so good, I guess. Seems to be moving in the right direction. What else? Okay, let's see what we can do here. Time to get the old instruments out. Hmm, that might work. Okay. Oops. All right. Um, Somebody said something. I went, oh yeah, my South African roommate. So this was wild because you know, when you're in Taiwan and you're teaching English, you're around a lot of other uh, whites from other countries, and they're here, you know, teaching English, and we work together, and we have kind of a community. So anyway, I didn't know much. I didn't know anything about South Africa other than like apartheid and the usual dumb shit in the media. Um, so what happened? So anyway, we got along and this and that, and then he had a friend of his. The friend and his wife moved to Taiwan to try to teach English. The thing is, they were trying to get out of South Africa. It's too dangerous. It was too dangerous. There's a lot of murders, and they're literally refugees in a regard. Like not technically, the Taiwan didn't regard them as that. They were just foreign workers teaching English. But the fact of the matter is, they were fleeing the violence, and each one of them had stories about attempted rape and murder and all kinds of terrible stories. And so I met the new guy and his wife that had just arrived, and he's like fresh off the boat, and he's no interest in Taiwan. He doesn't want to be in Taiwan. He has to be there to escape his country. And he's a kind of a real he was a big guy, just a big guy, kind of big belly and big shoulders and loud and like a real strong character, with a strong will and an interesting guy. And he was talking about how, I don't know, he was going somewhere. I don't remember what the deal was, but he got in an elevator and the door opened, and there was a black South African guy in the elevator. And he gets in the elevator with the dude. And I don't know the word in Afrikaners, but he was like, he called it's basically like the N word for Afrikaners for Nogs, And he's like, oh my God, like he got super angry. He's like, what? Like, you, I can't get away from you people, and like it caused a scene, and like my roommate was like, oh, we got to get out of here, and all this shit. Looking back, it's kind of comical in a way, to see that, but at the same time, it's also sort of tragic in a way. Um, the way that like the South Africans have to kind of run away, it's horrible. It's really, really horrible. Um, and I mean, that's essentially what the Begalians want it for all of us to be like, essentially America is Gaza, or Europe is Gaza, like everywhere for white people is Gaza. You know what I'm saying? That's the world they want, and they succeeded in some places, and like Europe right now is sort of on the way to becoming like that, unless they stand up and fucking fight. Let's see, PSD, Matt Walsh. I'm sure the normie grifters seeing the support of for Shiloh had a big influence on their newfound boldness. So again, yeah, this reminds me of something that Flash was saying in the chat earlier, on a Telegram chat about like he's really frustrated with how like we're not really we're not out there representing ourselves. It's always these kind of people, the gatekeepers, the grifters, you know, who are they just, and in a sense they steal our talking points as the Overton window moves. See, my view on that is that like we are the true sort. We're the well, we're the wellspring of this edgy information, and that they run out of things to complain about, to report about, and where else can they go? They've come to us. And now, like, who would ever have dreamed that Candace Owens would be doing what she does, or, you know, blah 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 blah, all these cases. So what's gonna be like in 2 years, 5 years? You see where I'm going? It seems like we're going to get mainstreamed. We got, Heil Hitler nigga that is taking the world by storm. You've got, I don't know. I mean, I know. It's like you guys aren't happy about it or whatever, Kanye, this and that. But it is changing things, and it proves once again that culture changes things. So yeah, I'm frustrated too. Why aren't they listening to Donald Kent songs, right? I fucking write music. I write decent music. Why are my songs like in obscurity, right? So I get it. Anyway, let's move on. I'm probably gonna have to wrap it up soonish. It's almost. I gotta work tomorrow. Take a shower and just go to bed. Michael Knowles are getting mocked and ratioed by Zoomers in the chat. If a new Catholic like Candace can leave Daily Wire, why can't grown-ass cradle Catholics like Matt leave? Brilliant point. Brilliant point. Yeah, I know. It's probably coming. It's probably coming. The biggest loser of them all is Alex Jones, though, man. What a fucking God. He's just a weirdo by now. Like, I mean, I always thought of him as like the Howard Stern of the right wing, like shock jock. But now it's just like, do you even know what you're fucking saying? Like, do you even know what you're trying to do? Like, red light, green light, and then just throw that like Alex Jones accent on it, and like make all kinds of connections to obscure things and this, that. It's just stupid. Anyway, I have made a fool of myself enough here. Oh God, just when Mr. White comes, that's when I'm ready to close the show. I start at 9, and I've been going 2 hours, big guy, so I apologize that you're coming at this hour. But I always start the show at 9 p.m. Eastern, 2 hours ago. I don't know where you are. So I'm burned out like crazy right now. And I gotta work tomorrow, so gotta wrap it. Luke says, if we save the folk, but everyone still worships Begalian simian culture, it isn't much of a victory. We whites have our own culture, and it's worth fighting for it. Truer words were never spoken. It's one thing Robert is saying to me, it's one thing for talking about the JQ becoming mainstream. It's another thing for being pro-white becoming mainstream, and we're still not there yet. Very good point. That's actually a really good distinction. I appreciate that. That's an interesting distinction. Because if we were pro-white, then all this other stuff would just fall into line. You know what I mean? I think it's you can't not name the Jew. You have to. You can't fix cancer if you can't say the word cancer. You know what I'm saying? It just isn't. It's crazy to think like that. But I think I'm vibing more with what you're saying, that maybe the focus should be more on us. I don't know. This is a debate that we go back and forth a lot in this movement. Mr. White, no problem. About to go to bed. Thanks. Not too bad. All right. Well, God bless you guys. Got to wrap it. I'm really, really, really pleased with the audience. Amazing discussion. This is the kind of show that I want to have. I used to have a lot more of, but I've been getting like, it's invasion of the teenagers or whatever. So I kind of wonder if YouTube was like, linking kids up to the show to fuck with me or something. I don't even know. I know that's conspiracy. Anyway, whatever. God bless you all. Have a good night. Stay true, stay real, and stay safe. Okay. We love you, Donald. Hail so hard. That helps. I appreciate that. That makes me feel good. Take care, guys. All right. Have a good time, and see you next time. Adios.